Morning everybody, this is Uncle Steve from Bawapsum, and today we're going to replace a carburetor on a John Deere X320 lawnmower. This lawnmower is a little over 10 years old. I think I bought it in 2012, and it has been a very good lawnmower, but it has had some problems with the carburetor, and the carburetor issue is simply ethanol and not being able to drain the carburetor after the season's over, or poor maintenance, and you get a clogged carburetor. So let me go on what happens to the carburetor so you guys will know what to look for if you've got this particular Kawasaki engine. So I'm going to pan over here and we're going to look at the Kawasaki engine. Okay, so now that we got the camera set back up, I'm going to show you what I got. I got this off of Amazon. It's some sort of Chinese built carburetor, and we're going to unbox it. Okay, they give you a fuel filter, and then inside the box, of course, you have the carburetor, and we're just going to make a real quick visual to make sure it looks somewhat like what we have. Yeah, because if it's totally wrong, I'm not going to continue with the video. But anyways, it looks apparently correct. You get some gaskets, some new fuel clamps. You get a fuel line and a shutoff valve, which is interesting. And I'll explain why I want to use that shutoff valve. And you get some more clamps. So, pretty good kit, 30 bucks, 33 bucks, something like that with tax. Amazon Prime, free delivery, all that kind of good stuff. People know about that. Alright, now, I'm going to show you what goes wrong with these carburetors. What goes wrong with these carburetors is the way it's constructed inside. It's not a bad design. It's actually a very clean, easy design, but it's got one major flaw, and I'm going to show it to you. Well, actually it might have more than one major flaw, but there's a couple of things you got to know. The first thing is there's no drain in the bowl. There's no drain in the bowl. And to get this solenoid off, you're going to have to grind, or find one of these old metric wrenches like in motorcycle kits, and then maybe grind it down some. I've ground this one down a couple times for different motorcycles and such, but this is the only one that will fit between the solenoid and the bowl. You have to get a wrench that looks like this, or get an old wrench and grind it down, your choice. This is the shut-off solenoid, and there it is. Battery on, keeps it on, fails closed. That point goes into the main jet, which is right there. And that shuts off the fuel. Now you're saying, well, wait a minute, what about the idle circuit? Well, when the engine is idling, all of the fuel goes through this jet. And then when you increase, RPM and go to full power, then fuel is bypassed and goes to the main jet that's inside the carburetor and into the engine. Okay, it comes up through here. You can see the needle valve, it comes up through the needle valve. Okay, now the one thing to note is, because of that, what they do to create an idle circuit, and this is the problem, this is the issue. If you let your carburetor sit out over the winter time, what's going to happen is the fuel is going to evaporate or get crusty, will get clogged, and you'll wonder, well, why won't my tractor idle? I can get it to rev up and maybe even work, but I can't get it to run at idle, to just stall on me. Well, that gets plugged. Now I've taken these carburetors and put them in a jiggle bath, the sonic jiggle bath, and the best thing is sonic jiggle bath with lacquer thinner in a glass bowl and some warm water around it, and that seems to work. But I've done that twice with this carburetor, and it's finally, I've had this carburetor off, not this one, but the one on the tractor off, so many times I've given up the ghost on it. And I says, well, let's just try one of these $30 carburetors, and let's see what happens. It's a very simple system. There's nothing to it. Now we're going to go over how to take the carburetor off. It's a relatively straightforward process, so we'll just get to it. The biggest thing you need to have is 10mm, pair of pliers, pair of needle nose, and maybe a screwdriver. there's a spring right here, and this is the choke spring. What you're going to do is you're just going to lift this off and set it aside. You need this spring to hold this down, and I'm going to show that later once we get it reattached. So the next step, before you remove the carburetor, you got these bolts here. You remove this, and then you can take this heat shield off, which makes it a lot easier to do. The heat shield has 4 bolts. 2 on this side, 2 on this side. So then once you got everything disconnected, you just slide this off. And there it is. So this is the old carburetor. Okay, I'm back from cleaning the intake housing. There's the intake housing. I always run a file on the intake housings and carburetor flanges. Over the years, working on small engines, what I've found is you'll find them pretty warped. And sometimes they'll be so warped they'll suck air around the gaskets, and it's pretty interesting when you put a flat file on some of these flanges and you find out, wow, that sucker's really bad. Okay, well, this one's not. Zoom in just a little bit. Put on my eyeballs. Now what we're going to do is this lever right here, I'm going to stick right there. Then we're going to pull back a little latching, and you just press it on. Okay, so when you get the kit, the other thing you're going to get here is you're going to get a new air cleaner. And when you go to start the tractor, what I've found is that the carburetor needs the air cleaner to idle. I think there's just enough choke effect, if you want to call it, to keep the tractor idle. So let's see if it'll start. And let's see, we'll give it half throttle, a little bit of choke, pushing the throttle. Got a nice idle, and there you have it. And this job is finished.